Welcome to the Otherworld Watch channel, where darkness thrives and the pages of haunted literature crackle to life. Tonight, we journey beyond the veil into tales born of terror and twisted imagination. Prepare yourself for stories that linger long after the last word. Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door is not a horror story filled with ghosts or demons. It is far more unsettling than that. It is a story about ordinary people, an ordinary neighborhood, and the quiet, creeping evil that grows when cruelty is allowed to thrive unchecked. The Girl Next Door was written by Jack Ketchum, the pen name of Dallas William Mayer, an American horror author famous for writing brutally realistic and emotionally disturbing stories. Born in 1946, Ketchum was heavily influenced by writers like Richard Matheson and Stephen King. His works often focus on human cruelty rather than supernatural evil. And The Girl Next Door, published in 1989, is considered his most shocking novel, inspired by a true crime case that haunted him for years. The story is told through the memories of David, who looks back on one summer from his childhood, a summer that permanently shattered his innocence. It was the 1950s, in a quiet American suburb where children rode bicycles, played baseball, and spent long days under the heat of the sun. On the surface, everything seemed safe, normal, familiar. But beneath that calm exterior, something horrifying was taking root. David lived next door to Ruth Chandler, a loud, domineering woman raising her three sons alone. To the neighborhood kids, Ruth seemed fun at first. She let them drink soda, stay up late, and gather in her house without many rules. But behind her laughter and casual friendliness was something deeply wrong, an anger and bitterness that seemed to be waiting for an excuse to explode. That excuse arrived when two sisters, Meg and Susan Laughlin, came to live with Ruth. Their parents had recently died in a car accident, and the girls were sent to stay with Ruth temporarily while their aunt tried to arrange a more permanent home. Meg, the older sister, was intelligent, kind, and quietly strong. Susan, younger and physically disabled, depended heavily on Meg for protection and comfort. From the very beginning, Ruth singled Meg out. What started as sharp remarks and cruel jokes slowly grew into something darker. Ruth accused Meg of things she hadn't done, blamed her for the boys' misbehavior, and punished her harshly for the smallest mistakes. The house began to change. The air inside felt heavier, laughter turned cruel, discipline turned into humiliation. Ruth's cruelty did not stay hers alone. She involved her sons, then the neighborhood children, twisting their minds with lies and justifications. She taught them that Meg was bad, that she deserved punishment, that hurting her was acceptable, necessary even. Slowly, terrifyingly, the children began to believe her. David watched all of this unfold. At first, he didn't understand the full extent of what was happening. He was young, confused, and afraid of Ruth. But as the days passed, he saw Meg's condition worsen. She was isolated, locked away, stripped of dignity and kindness. Susan was forced to watch helplessly, unable to protect her sister. The basement of Ruth's house became a place of dread. It wasn't haunted by spirits, but by human cruelty. It was there that Meg was kept, punished, and broken down piece by piece, not just physically, but emotionally. Ruth's hatred grew more vicious, and the children, encouraged by her approval, became more merciless. What makes the story unbearable is not just what happens to Meg, but how normal it all feels to those committing the cruelty. They treat it like a game, a ritual, something to pass the time. Evil becomes casual, routine, almost boring. David is trapped between his conscience and his fear. He knows what is happening is wrong, horribly wrong, but he doesn't know how to stop it. He tries small acts of kindness, small moments of resistance, but they are never enough. His silence becomes its own form of guilt, a weight that grows heavier with each passing day. As the summer drags on, Meg's strength fades, but her spirit does not entirely break. Even in unimaginable suffering, she clings to moments of hope. Hope that someone will help her, that someone will finally say, enough. Eventually, David finds the courage he has been avoiding. He tries to help Meg escape, but by the time he acts, the damage is already too severe. Meg collapses, her body unable to endure any longer. She dies not with hatred, but with forgiveness, a final devastating kindness that scars David forever. The truth eventually comes out. Ruth is arrested. The children involved are forced to face the consequences of what they did, but justice feels hollow. No punishment can undo what happened in that house. Years later, David returns to the neighborhood as an adult. The house is gone, abandoned and decaying, but the memories remain as vivid as ever. He understands now what truly terrified him that summer. Not monsters, not demons, but people. Ordinary people who chose cruelty, who followed authority without question, who stayed silent when they should have spoken. The Girl Next Door ends not with relief, but with a quiet, lingering horror. It reminds us that the most terrifying evil doesn't come from the supernatural. It comes from human beings, and from the moments when good people choose to look away. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of literature's most iconic Gothic tales. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more literary adventures. Till then, stay curious and stay brave.